Hello everyone, my name is Erika, and in today's stream we're gonna complete the Spineboy in a Snowglobe rig that we started in the previous sessions, and we are going to complete the rig of Spineboy's face and try to wrap it all together, adding maybe some animation or something that can make the Snowglobe a bit more interactive. So just to show you what we completed the previous times before we move on and start rigging the face, we added tons of features as we started with the fact that we can move all of these little gifts around and have them move a little bit, bounce around in 3D with various techniques, as you see here. And you can see that depending on how we place the pivot point, okay, the movement changes. These two are the same kind of setup, whereas this one has a slightly different setup, and we use this same setup also on the Snowglobe here, which when we shake it around, which I should never move the root, I should actually never test this in setup, it creates this sort of result. In fact, if you want to have better ways of testing your skeleton, remember to always instead switch to animate mode so that the result, okay, can be safely tested and you don't risk ruining your setup pose. We can have a look at Spineboy as an elf here. So what we were gonna be doing today is actually the face, which is the only thing that is not rigged yet. In fact, it only has one bone here to move Spineboy's face around. The hat, which we said would be problematic because it has this curvature here. In my case, I usually prefer to have a situation where my head is a single piece and then I place the eyes on top. So there may be a need for an eyelid. In this case, I decided to punch holes in the head, so I don't necessarily need a separate eyelid. Okay, so for the head, we already saw that we have these two holes like this, okay? And these are the various parts which are extremely creepy without the image underneath it. I think the first thing I'm gonna do is going to be rigging the head a little bit, then rig maybe the eyes. The nose, as you see, is a separate image, as well as the shadow here, and so is the mouth, so I can animate it a little bit. And lastly, I'll animate the hair, which as you see is mostly a very big piece, except for some pieces that I want to be able to move around freely, and so they are on their own separate layers. Then we have the ears, which I don't know, I'm gonna keep them mostly flat, I think, and the problematic hat. Well, first of all, we'll note that one problematic part that we may have is the fact that here we have very few border to make our eyes open and close. So we will attempt to do this, but it could be possible that it will be just not right, not looking super nicely. So we're gonna see, maybe I can make it work, maybe it will actually need a patch, and I have no idea where I'm gonna harvest that patch from, so we're gonna see if I'll have to paint something on the fly or not. It's gonna be an experiment because I usually use the other technique. Then here we have the white eye of the part, the pupil, the iris, etc. We have to always ask ourselves what we want this mesh to be able to do before we actually create the rig. In my case, we have the problem that this head is basically spherical, so because it is a sphere, it's gonna be hard because the meshes have the vertices which are very straight lines. It's gonna be a bit hard to get it to do many perspective effects, so we're gonna, I think, try to keep it simple. We want also to create the setting here so that the eyes can open and close. Those are gonna be our two big challenges, two big aims for this head rig. So first, it is spherical and we want it to be able to move a little bit like this. Secondly, we want it to make the eyes open and close because I decided to punch the holes in those eyes. First of all, we turn this into a mesh by checking the mesh checkbox, which is here. Secondly, we're gonna create some vertices. I think one first thing that we can do is add a couple of vertices to restrict here the area and add a bit more control. Actually, what is gonna happen is that all of this external edge that I'm gonna have here is gonna have the same weights, so it's not as important as much as we try to make this a bit symmetrical, because that would be nice. I think I could even do it with generate like this. Let's see if I subdivide it again and then cut. Ah, in this case it works. So I'm just gonna take the short route. There you go. Okay, and this way it is kind of symmetrical. It's not a necessary step, but I mean it's nice. And then I'm gonna rearrange these very convenient internal edges that we have here so that they look rounder. So we have to keep in mind that all of this area is actually gonna be covered by hair. So if we add more detail or not, does not matter. So based on that, I think I'm gonna focus. Maybe I'll keep this one just for the to make it more spherical, but it's not as important. I think I'm gonna focus on the eyes here. Okay, so these are the true problematic parts. Plus, let's see if this matches with the nose a little bit. Okay, maybe I'll add a couple of vertices here so that I have some references to anchor the nose in place. It's gonna make my job easier for that. And then for sure, I want to separate the eyes from the rest of the mesh. So I'm gonna place a vertex where there's the lacrimal duct. So here and here, as that's also where the eyes are gonna close. Then for sure, I want around here on the axis where the eye closes. Now, I made the eyes very tilted. We have to say that, because on a normal human, they are usually horizontal. Now, in this case, because this is a very stylized drawing, that placement is actually something like this, okay? So it's gonna be spherical like this, and it's gonna look like this. Okay, I think that's it. Let's see. I have to go around this so that all of the transparent pixels are gonna be enclosed in some vertices so that it's easier to move them around. So I'm gonna give this a little bit more space, and then I'm gonna create some more vertices. Now, I'm a fan of trying to use as few vertices as possible and to divide things in sections of 3 because it makes it easier to avoid the pointy parts if they have to be round. In this case, I think I'm gonna do. So I'm forced to place it here because otherwise this transparent part is gonna be visible. So I am forced to place that vertex there. So based on that, I'm gonna place another one here. Perhaps because I did this stroke of red, I don't know what got into me, but I did that. I'm gonna raise this so it encloses also the red stroke. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so it looks like this here, like this. It kind of works, but also, okay, I need to move this slightly more up, and then I'm gonna have to do the same also on this lower part. So for these, I'll move this down here and then try to reflect it also on the lower part. In this case, so they are kind of symmetrical. Here, here, and here. We actually have one section, the middle section, and the last section, so it kind of makes sense. Now let's get it also on this side. So I want something that looks like this. Okay, and I kind of got it, but also not. What is this? Let's delete it. We said that this part was gonna be complicated. So what happens is that if we don't have a separate image for the eyelids, we need to extend this part that we have on our own with the pixels that we have now. See? I can basically count the pixels that I have on to use. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's literally 10 pixels. That's not much. But we're gonna try to make it work. Okay, and for this, I'm gonna create this little border here. Very tiny border, but we're gonna see what can be done. Then something similar needs to happen also for this top part of the eyes. We need to simulate the eyelid part. Let's see, did I give him eyebrows or did I not? I think I did not here. Okay, so we make sure that this part is gonna be protected because it's not gonna move, whereas that other part is gonna move. Then we said that we wanted this whole mesh to feel a little bit 3D-ish. That's gonna be a little bit hard considering how big these eyes are, so I don't have high hopes that we're gonna get an exceptionally good result. So I think I'm gonna try to anchor this part by continuing this border that I started here. Okay, I'm giving him a chin, and then maybe I've been adding a couple of vertices here, so it's kind of connected to the lips, so maybe it will be possible to move it with the lips. I think this is enough, and as you see, I am ignoring this upper part. It's not necessary to add detail there. It's just for when the hair is gonna move a little bit to reveal the hair. Another part is this one, where I'll keep it simple. I think I'll trace this part, so I'll readapt a little bit the vertices. Let's see, maybe I'll add a vertex here so I can keep it a tad closer and have more control over this part. Let's add a couple of vertices here. These I'll move directly under the other whatever. Okay, so I can bend them together. Maybe also one here, which is actually better. Okay, I'm gonna keep it like this, and then I'm gonna do the same on the other side. Perhaps I can also turn this very quickly into a mesh, but not add details to it for now. Same here. The way I prefer to organize the elements of the face consists in having the general bone for the head base, which is this. That's gonna rotate the head, because Spineboy does not have a neck. So in this case, we're just gonna have it rotate like this. Then I'm gonna add in the middle of the eyes a little control here, which I'm gonna call face holder, which is gonna help me keep everything together. I am also gonna add, as a child of the head, another bone that I'm gonna place on the tip of the nose to control the rest of the things around. Although it's gonna go a bit further than the nose because it's gonna be at the same distance as the most distant strand of hair. I'm gonna add also something to be the inverse control for this part. So I could also have the hat parented to the head, but add the influence of the bone that is gonna control the part most in the back at last. I could have a structure that looks like this, okay? So that Spineboy's hat can bounce around. The only thing that I'm wondering about is this part gonna be parented to the head or parented to the control, so that it's automatically at the maximum. Maybe here in the middle, and I'm gonna call these head inverse, and leave these bones for the head, which are actually fine. I realized that I did not change the colors for Spineboy's rig, which makes it all a little bit confusing. Awesome, so now it's a bit easier to tell what is happening. So in the case of the eyes, we need a couple of bones to control the pupil, at least one, and to open and close the eyelids. So I'll select the face holder, select the create tool in setup mode, and I'll select maybe here first this, and then the lower eyelid here. So that's gonna be eyelashes. Actually, I'm gonna rename it to eyelid are up, okay, and then rename this to eyelid are down. I'm gonna create them also on the other side. Then we for sure need something to control the pupil. Maybe I'll also parent to it the iris. I'll do it here. I like it here. And then I'll also add the same thing on the other side. The parent is always this face holder, so here. And also this. I'm holding control, which is command on Mac, while I'm doing this. Okay, that's in the middle enough. Okay, and that's gonna be my other pupil. Let's also add maybe a little bit control on the mouth. Let's make it mouth shaped. Beautiful. Okay, with this we can start rigging the face. So I'll select here the head base and I'll bind it to the nose, the middle part of the face. Perhaps I'll also add the head base, and if I'm brave enough, I'm also gonna add a little bit of head inverse. Then click bind again, and I'll move to animate mode to be able to test this. So I'll create a new one. I'll call this face turn test. Okay, and I'll first move this on one side. Okay, I don't like that everything is moving because it kind of makes it hard for me to tell what the extremes are. I'll select everything. I'll give it 100% of the head base for now because I know that it's not moving, so that I can just focus on getting the extremes for these. Okay, so first on one side we said. Then on frame 40, I'll key this again so I can create a loop. Then on the other side, like this. So now it's doing this. Then on frame 10, when it's gonna be in the middle again, I'm gonna move it up. And then on frame 30, I'll move it down. Okay, so now we have this rotating like this. Then I'll start changing the weights. So for these, a good rule when we start rigging faces is actually to have all of the parts that are supposed to be controlled, open and close and do face stuff. We want them to all be weighted so they follow the face holder. So that way when we actually have the face holder moving, it's gonna be a tad easier to change how far they are or things similar to this. In this case, I'm gonna select these parts. Okay, only the internal vertices basically. And I'll change this to be 100% on the face holder. I did not create the constraints yet, so I can go and add them now. I'll go in setup and I'll get the... First of all, let's start with the classic one, which is head inverse, for which I'll create a new transform constraint, target the nose, and call this inverse head or something that is equally descriptive. Then press match and set the translation to -100 and -100. This way they move in reverse. Then I'll set another one on the face holder, new transform constraint that targets the head. This time that's gonna be the face holder. I'll just call it face holder. Press match and I'll make it move something like 70% of the maximum that we can have. Let's try 60. Okay, so before it was like this and now it's like this. As it stays a little bit more within the range, I guess we're gonna roll with 60. What happens if instead of having these parented here, I just parent them to the head? Because they're not supposed to move as much. Maybe this fixes the problem. Let's see. It could actually be better. For now, I have to also bind the face to these other parts. So I'll go back in setup and bind also these ones. Then for this other part, I'm gonna bind it to the face holder and this. Maybe also the head, just in case it touches too much with a part that should rotate in perspective. And then here, I'm gonna do the same. So first this, and I'm gonna select these and change the weights so they follow this bone. Okay, so they kind of stay in place. Maybe these two are the lucky ones that get to be okay like this. Okay, and like this we already get some perspective and also the eye to follow the bone that I want to be able to control the eye. But maybe for this part I want a little bit more of the head base, just so it stays more in place. Then on this other side I think I'm gonna do something similar and I'll select these and turn it to 100%. I did not select all of them. Okay, and then for these parts I think they are also gonna have a little bit of the head base, so they rotate a little bit less. They are more anchored in place. Maybe this one too, maybe this one too. Okay, we kind of got that perspective. Now here in the middle, okay, I think it needs to have it, basically not have it so it rotates with the rest. Okay, for the nose clearly also needs to be bound to the correct parts. First only this, then also this. Let's see. So I'm just gonna change these two weights. The nose also has a tiny bit of extra perspective. What I usually like to do is also create another face test animation where I just move around the parts of the face to make sure that they can open and close. So here I'll get this to be closed like this, here I'll overlap it like this, and then I'll mold the weights around this so that the eyes can be closed. Okay, maybe like this. Here I think I'll need to move these, okay, a bit more. And then I'll change the weights. I'm gonna change this to be influenced 100% by this bone, 100% on this other bone here, and I have to get it to be almost closed. Now if I have a little bit more of the eyebrows, my job is gonna be a lot easier, and also these I know that for sure it's gonna be attached to the eye like that. And usually after I do that, if I smooth it, it kind of goes in place. In this case my hoops were not working, kind of has to do this. So they are opening and closing. Okay, I'll change the weights until this does not look like some horror creation, but actually like some eyes that open and close. It's always a good idea to start with a simplified version of the mesh, because Spine is gonna auto-calculate the weights for you, so it's a win-win in any case. Also see that, remember when I told you that having these vertices here would anchor the skin in place because it's simulating skin, and it's preserving the border. As you see, that is happening, and the result around here is not that bad. It's actually good. All right, now let's fix this problem with the eyes here. First of all, I'll go on the extreme and I'll try to change the weights a little bit so that they can do what I'd like them to be doing. Here, I think this can be easily fixed by adding more vertices because this part is curved. You know what I think about curved surfaces, but we have to live with it. So it's that point where I need to add more detail there. Okay, I tried here as much as possible to not have it influenced by that. And that's how it is. Okay, here I can push it a bit more by adding more influence here. Okay. And here, once again, I will need to add more vertices. That's okay. So it's 100% on the face holder. Here, I'll try to get it to also be 100% at the face holder for now. But then I'm gonna just smooth it a lot. And here I'll try to get them in place so they cover that part there. Now see, this ugly stuff here, it's because I did not match the vertices nicely, and also I used too few vertices. But it's always good to use less vertices in the beginning, as I keep repeating. So now the result is this. Let's see, I'll add at least one here and one here. Likely one here, here. So it can curve a bit in a nicer way. And here. Here too. Okay, I think this is gonna be enough. It looks horrible, but we're gonna fix the weights. Now see, here I did not spend too much time before adjusting the weights on the eye brush. And so they are kind of a mess. Here, where I started adjusting the weights a little bit better, now they automatically get in the right places. Now I'll just have to adjust the weights for these new parts so they make a nice curvature. Let's see if I smooth it. It goes in place. Perfect. Here I see that there's a bit of overlap happening. I guess that's it. Yes. Okay. Yeah, that looks very beautiful. And it's part that is hidden. Okay, and then here, let's fix first the eye brush, then I'll fix the eyelids. I need this to be influenced more by the eyelid, so it moves more with it when it's closed. Where this opens and closes is this one, and not the one on top. I probably should get this to not move, so it keeps being correct. It's gonna look like this. Okay, then that means that I have to change the weights based on that. And here it's gonna be more of the eyelid are up. Okay, so they overlap as much as possible to create the situation where the eyes close. Based on that, this means that I need to move these a tad lower so they overlap better, so they close. And then I'll adjust the weights so they all match. Then here, I'll get it to more of the, not head base, but the face holder. Okay, now it's closing in a nicer way. Now I can go back here and change the weights. So what happens if I get all of these eyelid are up influence? Okay, then we'll do this. Great. Then I'll have to get them to be more like this so they cover that part. All right. Then these ones. Okay, then let's go back here on this side. Those beautiful eyes that look into your soul. Now we can adjust the eye blink so it's not so slow now. It was useful for testing purposes. Yeah, I feel like... Okay, I actually feel like this part, the lower part of the eyes, could use another vertex here, so it's not as, I don't know, chunky. Let's change that. Okay. Let's see. And so before it was like this, now it's like this. It's already a little bit better. Yeah, I want this part to be a tad more curved. So I'll add another 2 vertices here so that I can get this to have a better curvature, because before it was like this, now it's like this. And I should be able to change both of the weights with the curvature that I want. Change the weights, maybe this is the problem. Yeah, okay. Let's see it from afar. And also change a bit the blinking of the eyes like this. So it uses more strength to close the eyes. I could start dealing with the hair. I think I could just have like one bone here and one bone here to control the rotation of the hair on the sides, and then apply different weights. I'll give it a length so it can bounce around and maybe also stretch or do other stuff. And I think that I'll also get the hair to be parented to the face holder, so it already starts like around here, like it's part of the more frontal part. So let's see, here I'll have this side of the hair. I'll call this hair L, like the side of the character, and then I'll select this again, the face holder, and I'll create the hair on the other side, maybe like this. Now let's create the mesh for these parts. So I'll edit the mesh. Let's try tracing. Maybe it is lucky. Oh, that's good. So I'll follow the structure. So see here that I did the reflection. It tells me also the curvature, the shape of this hair. So it's enough to add the vertices here to have it mold a little bit better around the face. Then here you can see that there's a change from light to dark, and that tells me that this is an awesome other place to create my other vertices. Then I'll modify this so it's a tad closer here, and then I'll move this slightly up so it's not cut. Okay, much better. And then here for the fancy part of the hair, maybe I'll do this. Okay, and then I'll get this to be closer and this also to be closer, so this part can bounce around. Let's see if this works. Perhaps I'll change, okay, here the shape, so it for the line of the mesh. Okay, see, this was breaking it. By changing it this way, the line now follows the drawing, which should give me a tad better results. Then let's bind these two. First I want it to follow both the head base, the face holder, and the hair, but in inverse order actually. Okay, so that this part can be the closest one. Then I also want to add the nose influence so that I can have it rotate in perspective. Okay, right now it liquefies. That's okay, so I'll zero it out. First I'll get it to be all on the face holder. Then I'll reattach the hair to Spineboy's head. I know that this external part is gonna be attached. Okay, so I'll just attach it like this, and immediately it looks like it's already more 3D-ish. Then here, this part needs to rotate a little bit more with the rest of the head, and perhaps I'll tune down this part, especially this, I would say, so it follows more head base. Okay, so it's a little less strong, maybe this one too, like this. Then here a little bit more on the head base. Okay, then we want the hair to also detach, but first of all I want to make sure that the hair is also functional, so I'll rotate it maybe like this. Okay, right now it's not controlling it, and so I'll get all of these, especially this part that it's the extreme, and get it to rotate in a nice way. So this is for sure gonna be 100% of this hair. Then these ones are likely also gonna be influenced a lot by that hair, and maybe no, this one a little bit. Okay, they all get to rotate a little bit with that. I think it's because I took out too much of head base, so I'll get it back in, and perhaps I'll also get it a bit stronger here so it creates some interesting perspective effect. I want the nose again that pushes them more in the front. I'll also do something similar here so they get pushed a bit more in the front, this less. Okay, the lock appears when you hover on the weights, and it's available on the weights squares here. It's available only from version 4.1 onwards, so if you're using the beta you're gonna see it. I probably need a couple more vertices here to push this more in front, or I can select these two and push them more in front by adding more face holder influence like this. Yeah, and now it looks more curved. I'm gonna be doing the other hair strand. I'll just add a little vertex here. Okay, and change this like this. And then I'll bind this to this other hair strand and these. And then I'll get it to be attached to the face, first to head base, and then I'll get it to be more in perspective by changing the weights so it follows a bit more head base. It covers this side a little bit better. I sort of want these two to be, it might be a good idea to also have the bones that open and close the eyes to move, but at a slower pace compared to the rest. Yeah, because if they just followed like this, kind of would fix the problems that I had with it. I can create another face holder that moves at a different speed for the eyes. I'll create one here. Slower face holder. And then I'll parent these two to it, so that this way I can just regulate that one and not both. New transform constraint target the nose. Okay, and I'll get this to maybe translate at 30% of the rest. Okay, they move at a slower pace. Plus, if I see that it's still not cutting it, I can still get it to be less, like 20%. I think 20 is the one that I wanted. Okay, I have a problem here on the eye where the weights are blatantly wrong for this vertex here. So I need to replace the weights. Okay, that's head base and it's not moving. Instead, it needs to be more face holder to be correct. Oh, did I ruin the eye blink? No. Perfect. Okay, here I have a problem on the face turn, because these are not moving in perspective, but the parts below are. So that likely means that I need to lock here the weights and get this to be more on head base until the match, but without altering those other parts. Okay, let's see if eye blink is ruined or if it works. No, it still works. Very nice. Okay, so these are fixed. Now, let's go back to the face turn. Okay, there's one other evident problem that I've been skipping until now, which is the fact that the eye whites are not working, so let's fix them. So now I'm gonna create a mesh for this part and also here, and I'm gonna get the mesh to follow the perspective in some ways. So I guess that I'm gonna bind this to the 3 bones that control the main movement of the head. Same on this side. 1, 2, 3. And tune it so it always covers the head even when it's rotating. Weights. Okay, this is gonna be for sure the face holder. This is gonna be for sure also the face holder. And this is gonna be the slower face holder, I think. And this is gonna be more on the slower face holder too. And that kind of covers it. Now, if you leave a little bit more room for these parts, it's gonna be even better. Then here I get it on the other side, like for example here, face holder, and now it's covered. Okay, I still have problems here. Okay, what I like to do when I have these sort of problems where I kind of see the holes, etc., is to do this. I retain the original image of the eye whites, but I duplicate them and I'll extend the copy so that I simply have more room. That's actually the original, but it does not matter. So I'll just enlarge it like this, so I have more room than here. Okay, I'll do the same. More room for all of these parts. And if I go back in animate mode, bam, see? It kind of goes outside, but it does not matter. I can even remove the weights for these. Now, let's also get the pupils to have some nice effect. The irises. So I'll do it this way by binding the iris both to the face holder and to the pupil. I want the weights of these to be slightly less strong, so it creates this edge. So this is what? 6.73. I'm gonna have the similar weights also on this other side. Then I want to also have the reflections here. At first I'm gonna parent them to the face holder because right now they were not moving with everything. Okay, and now it works like this, which is a little bit better. Okay, let's finish the hair strands. So here they are. Actually, I'm gonna turn them all at once into meshes by selecting them and bind it here, to all of them, except this one. Okay, and I'm gonna decide what weights to actually apply. For these, I'm gonna try to trace it. Okay, and then I'm gonna create, I don't know, a couple of vertices here so I can get it to be more curved. I want to see what happens. Actually want this. Okay, then here I'll just leave it as it These are actually like this. Okay. Bind so it follows this. Okay. Here, okay, it's already a mesh. I'll bind it to these and the others. And also, of course, I forgot to also add the nose, which is very important to make it pop out. And the last one, I'll bind it to this, and the nose. Okay, let's go to animate mode. Let's attach them to the various parts. I'll just get it to be on the head, and then a little bit more on the face holder until it matches the other hair, which I think it does, but it has a different speed. Actually, these parts need to be more influenced by the nose, whereas these ones cannot be as attached to that. They need to be more on the face holder, up to 100%. Okay, it's still too strong, so I'll get a little bit of the head base influence. Okay, now it feels attached. And this one, I added a ton of vertices. Don't know if it's a good idea. I'll get instead face holder influencing it here. Then I'll get them to be smoothed out. Then I'll get this part to be more attached to the head base. Okay, then from here on, they need to pop out more. So they need to have more nose influence. And it looks like this. Then let's see this one. I think it's better when I have less vertices. It just makes everything easier. Then this needs to be attached more to these at first. Since it's not enough, I get it to be attached like this. Very good. What about this? This also needs to be more on head base, face holder. Okay. Then also this, 100% face holder. Then a bit more of the head base. Then these ones need to be a bit more on the nose. Let's see, without bones, without everything. Let's complete these by adding the ears. Okay, the ears are gonna be nice. So we can do them the simple way, which consists in just keeping them this way and then binding them to the head and the inverse bone, which will make them look very flat. I'll just show you in case you want to choose this sort of setup. And what it does is it's this. It's not bad, right? It can work. If you want to bring it to the next level, then we can also define the inside of the mesh by outlining, if you remember, okay, the parts that convey the shape, which in this case is this. It separates the side from the top of the ear. Okay, just with these two, we go back here and we get them to be more influenced by the head base. So it does this. And here it also needs to be influenced either more by the head base, so it's not moving that much. Here I can get it to be more on head inverse, and then we have it's like the cube all over again, right? Okay, now it's doing this. It feels a tad more solid, so that's one option. Okay, let's apply the same concept also on these, which cannot be seen much really. I think I'll mostly do this. Okay, and then cross it like this, bind to this and the inverse bone. I'll go animate mode, and then I'll basically get these parts to go more with head inverse. Maybe this a little bit, but less. This needs to be a bit stronger. And now we have the ears also rotating a little bit in perspective. I feel like the hair should cover Spineboy's head a bit more than this. I should have added another strand of hair here so it covers. I could do that now. I'll duplicate this, then take this copy, move it on the opposite side, reflect it. Let's see if that worked. Okay, it needs to be more here. See it now? Okay, I need to change the weights a little bit. More on head base. Yeah, so it covers this side a little bit better. Would be nice. Let's see. I'm gonna disable here this hair for a moment and distort this. So it just created some new hair for this part. Let's see now. Yeah, that's good. Let's complete this with the hat of Spineboy. Change the mesh. Okay, how are we going to deal with this? First, let's attempt tracing. Good. I'll remove some of the extra vertices. Okay. Then I'll try to go inside this mesh a little bit more. If I want to have it seem like it's round, I would need to divide it in 3 sections. So there we go. And now we have the sections. So add another one here so it can bounce a bit more. Okay, as you see, it's like I'm overimposing a grid. And here I'm completely ignoring what's underneath. Okay, then I'll bind these to the various bones. I'll start from head base, and then every other bone that it's in here. Then for the weights, I'll get this to be, first of all, I don't want head inverse. I only want to add it at the end. Then I need to check that this can rotate properly. I just need a different animation. I'll reuse this and I'll try to curl the hat to the maximum and rotate them at first. I'll get them not to be rotated like this. And it's just for testing purposes, so even if it looks horrible, it's gonna be fine. Okay, then I'll get what I have around here to be attached to the head by getting it completely on head base. Here, I'll get an in-between weight. Actually, this belongs here. Then here, I think I'll try to smooth the weights. Let's see. I'll actually get to this version here, where I'll remove these weights that do not make any sense. Add more influence here of this. Okay. Then I think that's the best that we can get. Or maybe I can add a little bit more influence here. So see, testing with extremes makes it a bit easier to identify, okay, because it's an extreme, if we applied the right weights or not. Okay, yeah. So it's, we're never gonna get a perfect result here in the uncurled version because it's curly. So that's our point, that it's not gonna do anything. So I can only work on this other side to get it to do something different, which means at best I could do this. But don't expect a miracle on this one. Simply not possible. Yeah, since it's not gonna look good in this extreme, I'm just gonna ignore that. It's never gonna get to that point and call it a day. Okay, now I go back to my face turn and I'll add the 3D effect also to the hat, which is achieved by progressively adding more of head inverse, but like as a block like this. Yeah, so I'll have it to be stronger here like this. Okay, I'll get it to be less here, a bit less, here like this, okay, here like this. Notice how here I ignored the middle part to make it more curved. Okay, and then it progressively gets stronger and stronger. But now we apply the physics constraint on the nose and on the various parts of the hat, and if I tune this right, you're never gonna notice that it looks that ugly in those extremes. Okay, let's select hat, nose, and the hair. This is what we want to add the physics to. New physics constraint. So for these, all are right except for the nose, which cannot have rotation. It needs to have just translation, but only a little bit. So now when we have this animation, where did it? Because this is the other animation, right? So if I have one of the tests where I just look at what is happening here, it's annihilating the hat a little bit. Well, it could have been a lot worse. Actually, it's confusing me, so let's see. For the speed of the bones, I'm satisfied. I want to see it without bones and just move it around. Maybe I just shake the face itself. Okay, that's good. What about the hair, which I want to look? Okay, the movement of the hair, it's fine. I like that because the various hair strands have different weights. They also move at slightly different speeds. Okay, I'm noticing that the head, the face is not moving at all. If I get it to be to the maximum and then I move the head, what happens? Maybe the constraints are in the wrong order. Let's see. Okay, all right. So see, like this, when it's not as strong, it's actually working nicely. For the very last thing that we could do, there's the presence and the animation around Spineboy. So I'll have a generic idle animation where I get Spineboy to move, and then we'll see. So maybe in the idle, he eye blinks at some point. That would be nice. Maybe here. That's part of our idle animation. Then let's see. I wanted to have some interesting movements for the presence, and for these I imagined to have them rotate around a rotator bone. So first I have my globe holder. I will need to add some bones more in the middle, which is around where globe texture is actually. So I guess that I'll just create some new bones there where that is, which are gonna be some gift rotators. I'll call them like this. Let's get it first on one of them, like for example the red one, and I'll duplicate this already because I also want a gift scale. I'll add also the denomination of what this is. So red gift scale, and then we have the gift rotator inside this, but I also rename this to red gift, so all the naming makes sense. And then I'll also parent this here. I'll make this rotate first, and I can do so by keying the rotation here. Then arriving at the end, in local axis, I'm just gonna type a plus 360, which makes it rotate. And now my gift is doing this. Okay, just like in a snowball. Great. Now, I don't actually want this gift to inherit I don't want it to rotate either with the parent bone. So that now when it rotates, it's doing this. It stays in place like this. Whereas before, when it was inheriting it, it was doing this, and now it's doing this. Okay, and that's the first. Then I want it to rotate around Spineboy and do instead this. So let's see. I get the scaler to scale, and I just scale it on the first frame, something like this. Okay, and now it's gonna rotate in perspective a little bit like this. Okay, so at least it stays within the bounds. I could actually get it to be scaled a little bit more. Okay, so it's doing this. Ooh, okay, I scaled it too much in this direction. Let's see now. All right. So that's one. Then, it's not nice that the present is in front of Spineboy for this animation. So let's say that around here, so it needs to start this gift and this need to be in the back of everything. Okay, here in the beginning, and then we get it back to where it was at the animation here, okay, where it changes the draw order. Then I'll push it back on the other side here. So now it rotates in front and behind Spineboy, as it should. Okay, then I'll apply some similar logic also on these ones. I'll do a similar setup for the green present. I could even just parent it, for example, here. So it always rotates in reverse compared to the red gift. Oh yeah, I forgot to add the fact that it should not inherit rotation and scale from the other. Okay, and now it looks nice. Okay, then I have to add the draw order for all of these. Around here, the green should go in the back in the draw order and push them behind Spineboy. So I think I'd like the blue one to move more from where it is, closer then. Okay, I feel like the red goes dangerously too low, so I'm gonna scale these further down. Okay, better. Then here's where the blue should be pushed in the back. Here the blue should be in the back, actually. Decoration. Okay, and I'll drag them down, and it goes back in the front here. Perfect. So let's see without bones. And now it's like this. Let's also add some sort of animation to Spineboy maybe. And also to the snowballs here. Yeah, let's add some snowballs. Okay, so here I had the snow. I could actually just make copies of the snow. I think I should have some dedicated bone for the snow. And then make some pretty kind of composition for this. I wanted to have a new bone, which I'll call this snow scale, not rotator. Duplicate this into snow rotator. Okay, rotator child of scale, perfect. Then here it's gonna be my snow holder. And I can have several of the snows parented to this that do not inherit rotation or scale, so they stay the same. Okay, so from these, snow scale is gonna help me get this to be in perspective like this maybe. Okay, so it's kind of smaller, okay, like this. Then snow rotator is gonna actively rotate like the other bones. In fact, I could just select one of the other rotators and copy the keys from that, okay, and then paste them on my snow rotator. Then after this, I can have snow holder, and of course I need to parent the snow to snow holder, because otherwise it's not gonna work. Okay, and for snow holder to work, I need to place it where the snow is. So if that's snow holder, my snow needs to be close to that, so that the result can then be like this, where the snow rotates. Now, not very impressive with just one snowball, but I can have several copies to scatter around. Let's just see what happens if I have these. Okay, they kind of move in the same spot like that. It becomes more interesting if I start having more bones for these. Okay, so it's matching. Okay, and then I'll scatter around the snow. Okay, it's starting to look the way I was hoping it would. Not have as many of these snows. I'm gonna duplicate them and then move them around. Okay, I'll get Spineboy to have some sort of movement, something like breathing. Oh, I could just move the body up and down or something like that. I'll just translate this and then move it up. Everything's gonna look better with curves. I don't want to see the draw order so I'll filter it out. And then these rotate after the others. So I'll get them to offset differently. And then maybe also on this. I wanted to get also the feet to move a little bit. We also want the strings here to be finished. So to get these, well, these are quick to make at least. So the shoelace is gonna be a mesh. I'm just gonna create a bone for these. First of all, a bone that starts from here, and then I'm gonna add from here another bone that is going to control the rest of the shoelace like this. Okay, is the other string. I'll parent it here. Mesh, edit mesh. Let's generate just a few vertices. Bind them to 1, 2, 3. Apply some different weights. Whatever. If it's bad, we're gonna remove them. Okay, and then I'm gonna maybe rotate this first like this, then in the opposite direction. Apply curves, and then start offsetting parts. So if everything went well, now when I go back here and I go and open the preview, if I get my idle going, okay, let's close this. If I start shaking the globe holder in setup, yeah, I got Spineboy to shake with it. So when it's moving only a little bit, it looks very nice. When it's moving a little bit more, less so. I think I could just have a shake animation. Shake. And then I think I'll be done. Okay, it probably wants to start from here and it will return here. Okay, I'm keying the translation again. I'll move it up. Then I'll move it down again quickly. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I had in mind. Then I'll move it up again and then down again. So give it a good shake. Can I add some curves just to make it prettier? Actually, that's a great testing animation for establishing the maximums on some of the things that I did, because it's simulating what the user could be doing. So I'll keep that animation going while I change a little bit the amounts for the various parts. Let's see. I'll open the constraints node. So one thing that I'm noticing that goes way outside the bounds is the face. Nose, oh, there it is. Needs to translate less, or at least have slightly less inertia. Okay, now it's not going outside the bounds anymore. Then I think that for the presents are also deforming a bit too much. So I'll get them to also have slightly less inner. That's why I couldn't change that. Blue present. Let's see if the blue present now looks better. Yeah, much better. It's around 30 that I need to change it. Control. Okay, now they are not deforming too much. I think also on the foot instead. Okay, here's the tip. I lower it. Okay, now it's a tad better. Then I said I wanted to also lower these. Okay, to make it all a bit more rigid. Alright, so this is the stream result that you're seeing here. I hope it was an interesting stream for you. We managed to tune the various parts, get the snow globe effect going. This is the end. Thank you again for watching until now this whole series on Spineboy in a snow globe. I will see you again next time. Bye bye!